I would like to now welcome to the Beyond Games stage for a talk about blind burners, the accessibility in the metaverse. This is very much something that's of interest to us. And we've got Chris Hainsworth, the TheGameCFO, and Adi Latif from AbilityNet. Have we got you both there? I think we have. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay?
Hello,
Perfect.
Dave. Yeah,
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yes, wonderful. Great to have you guys with us. So look, thank you very much for being with us. What I'm gonna do here is I'll fade into the background. Actually, I think you probably both participated with us before, so you'll know how it's gonna work. I'm gonna fade into the background. You guys go for it. If anyone has any questions, and I can see there's actually one coming already, do drop them into the box here, and I'll keep my my sort of attention on that. And at the end of the talk, I'll pop back up, Chris, and help you curate those. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave.
Great. See you later.
And a quick audio description, if that's okay. We normally invite people to describe themselves, but in Dave's case, he's a keen-eyed, warm smile man. I'm Chris, and I'm a white guy, blonde hair, blue eyes.
And I'm Adi. I'm a brown guy, brown eyes, and long COVID dark hair.
And welcome to Blind Burners Accessibility and the Metaverse. Adi's going to provide some soothing Scottish small talk while I just figure out how to
Oh yeah, we totally rehearsed this bit, right? I hope everyone's had a great session so far, and we're really looking forward to delivering some information on accessibility. I've been told to talk a little bit louder, Chris said, so I hope you can hear me okay. And yeah, Chris, how are we doing?
We're doing good, I think.
We're doing good.
I'll trust that someone will give me a holler if the slides are not sharing. So
we can see them, Chris. You're all good. Everything's displaying well.
Lovely. Beautiful. Thank you, Dave. So welcome to Accessibility and the Metaverse. So we are a collective of blind, partially sighted, and sighted artists and performers from around the world. I'm pausing just because the wonderful subtitles were obscuring my slide controls, and we're so thrilled that there are live captions to this. It's fantastic. So we were conceived in the physical world and born in the digital. We host immersive parties online and sensory meetups in real life. So we live in the metaverse. Our vision is a world where virtual reality is fully accessible, and we can all just focus on self-expression and artistic co-creation. So we're going to work with allies to bring about this transformation of virtual reality technology, so it can be fully and easily and wondrously accessible to blind and partially sighted people. And we will co-create experiences with leading artists, sound experts, and designers. Some ideas we're looking to prototype include a navigation system that allows a blind person to explore and interact fully independently from within a head-mounted display, use of spatial audio to aid navigation, and haptics. And I'll hand over now to Adi to talk about accessibility of the internet and the possibilities and excitement of VR.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. So accessibility is something really, really important for me. And the main reason for that is I lost most of my eyesight when I was about 9 years old, and the world became a pretty difficult place for me to navigate. People would read for me and they would write for me. And when I got to university, things changed. Then world became more digital, and we started using something called a screen reader. For people who don't know what that is, a screen reader is a piece of software you install on your computer, or it's built into your smartphones. And basically that starts reading the visual content from the screen to me, and I can listen to it in an auditory way. So in practical terms, I can navigate a website. I can go through the menus in my Office and PowerPoint and Outlook. So I can basically navigate the digital world pretty much independently. So accessibility for me is when people make digital products and services, for them to make them in a way they don't build barriers, digital barriers in their service. When there's a digital barrier, then that prevents my screen reader from accessing it. And the same goes for other people with other sort of disabilities and any other technology they might be using. In this picture, you'll be able to see myself and our friend Amani, and in the background there is Dolly the truck. And that's what we used to get to Burning Man from Reno. And this was an incredible journey. Chris talked me into it, and it was just fantastic. That truck looks pretty sturdy. I think it looks pretty sturdy, but it broke down twice on the way as we got there. And I thought, this is part, it's all about the journey. I thought, this is the hardest bit, over and done with. But when we got there, we opened up the luggage compartment of this lovely dolly, and 2 hornets' nests fell out. We're just surrounded by all these wasps, and we thought, right, that must be it, right? This is it. This is it's going to get easier. And then when the wasps dissipated, we could hear a little ticking. It was like tick, tick, tick. And we put our head in the truck, and there was a live wire right next to the gas tank.
Safety third. People.
So safety third is one of the things at Burning Man, and that was definitely third, or probably fourth or fifth. But the experience was very tangible for me and very exciting, and we'll come on to a little more of the details further on in the presentation.
Great, thank you, Eddie. So yeah, stay tuned for how we got on when we tried to go to Burning Man in virtual reality. This slide is about our values, and it shows the word love in giant letters made of aluminium, which up close you can see has tiny bird shapes cut out. Part of the monumental word series by artist Laura Kimpton. Blind Burners came together through a love of play, a willingness to be vulnerable and talk openly about mental health, and an obsession with nudging ourselves out of our comfort zones. We are a diverse group by nature, with members in the US, UK, India, and China. Our third member, Mikkel Smithen, aka Ebony Rose Dark, is a proud, partially sighted Black gay Caribbean photographer and performer. Our first 2 mentors, Polly Superstar of Kinky Salon and Kelly Vero, also a superstar of so many cool projects and who we met here at PGC, obviously women, and another artist and queerlesque performer, Lex Electric's tagline involves smashing non-binaries and introduced us to the world of subjective audio description of queerlesque, and a company called Quiplash, who do pioneer exceptional audio description. Other members, Tiger Lily from Montana, Mari Mutu in Tamil Nadu, and Dust Devil in Shanghai, bring unique gifts and perspectives, and ambient musician Dave Leo Baker, the dude in Portland, who supported Crash Test Dummies and who has never seen before, also joined us. Many of us identify as neurodiverse or as experiencing mental health conditions, and without these friends to teach, inspire, and support us, we would not be so aware of our differences and our potential. So on to our values. A key principle is that inclusive design is better design. It's also great business, just ask Apple or Microsoft. Another touchstone for us is the desire to see accessibility embedded across the more obscure cultural riches and niches of the world. While you can probably rely on the BBC to add audio description and other accessibility features to a royal funeral, what if you're blind and you want to fully experience the visual textures of a basement rave, attend an online tantra course, or connect with communities that explore your identity? So these intersectionalities between blindness, identity, and subcultures are our sweet spot for the metaverse. And Blind Burners, above all, is a vehicle for all our personal transformations. Now, looking outwards, and this is a slide looking across the Black Rock Desert from within an artwork, there is some great work already being done across this space. Some key players include the XR Access Initiative, a community committed to making virtual, augmented, and mixed reality accessible to people with disabilities. The Web Accessibility Initiative of the World Wide Web Consortium is also doing incredible work on the foundations of accessible XR. And we sit on the meeting of a committee focused on working out XR solutions for deaf and hard of hearing people. And we're grateful for this opportunity to work together with friends in that community. We'd also like to give shout outs to some of the blind gamer bloggers and streamers, in particular Cyclist Combat, Steve Saylor, and Mari Mutu. If there are any developers in the room, you haven't watched Steve Saylor's videos and his review of Last of Us 2's accessibility features, to which he contributed, we highly recommend it. We now have a slide on screen that has the words art and bullshit and 2 arrows pointing in different directions. It's unclear if these concepts are intended to be related. And we'd like now to talk about our inspirations and the creative ambitions we would like to set for VR experiences in the metaverse, all of which should be accessible by design. So now we invite you to think of your peak art experiences, whether in game, film, or VR, and the transformatory emotional impact they had on you. Maybe you're in ecstasy, listening to the choral music of the Yorkshire Bark Choir, and looking around, you see exquisite, detailed stained glass. This is actually the rose window in York Minster, next door to the church where the choir perform. In the game Journey, which I loved, the shimmering sands and the unique way the game captures the texture of jumping carefree across the dunes. And this is Stone 27, an artwork by Benjamin Langholtz, which Addy and I climbed one morning at physical Burning Man. And here is Ellie in a scene from The Last of Us 2, attempting a similarly scary crossing of a broken bridge vertiginously high in the sky. This is a spectacular LED backdrop of intense green light and hashtags created by United Visual artists for the band Massive Attack. The band's shows layer in meaning with a constantly changing stream of visual data and headlines lifted from local and international media, juxtaposed with the sounds and lyrics of the band. Statements are a mix of stark human truths regarding socio-political crises, such as the number of deaths each day in Syria, contrasted against headlines taken from celebrity gossip rags, speaking to our culture of distraction. This art has so much meaning and the potential to trigger emotions and change. And finally, in this slide, we're in the desert and perhaps walking or cycling past road signs bearing the messages. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Actually, should have turned to Addy and said that because I kind of had to twist his arm to take part in this. So thank you, I appreciate you. So altogether, these are the things that inspire us: light and sound, texture, touch, connection, and transformation. And our vision of the metaverse is that all of this experience and agency to choose is accessible. We are obsessed with figuring out how to make all this beauty and meaning and transformation accessible to someone who cannot see. And we want to make sure that ultimately the stage is set for VIPs. And to us, that means visually impaired partygoers or visually impaired performers to take center stage along with sighted friends wherever they want to go in the metaverse. We now have a slide with a sign that reads, "I have dust in curious places," and it's placed against the Black Rock Desert with beautiful pale mountains in the background. Now, Black Rock City, our home in the desert, is a temporary settlement in the Nevada desert, which for 1 week in August, around 80,000 people come together in the third largest city in Nevada. It's a unique environment focused around art, self-expression, communal effort, and other values. The only things you can buy are coffee and ice, so everything you need to bring in, everything you need to survive, you bring in and you take out and leave no trace. As the event takes place in the Black Rock Desert, an environment that is trying to kill you, attending the event presents some challenges. So take it away, Addy.
Yeah, so there was quite a lot of challenges. I've never stayed in a desert before, and so Chris missed out quite a lot of the little details, such as we had to take everything with us to survive. So this is us in a big superstore, and we were buying everything from enough coffee and tea, down to the tent we'd be staying in, down to raw materials to build ourselves a shelter. So it was a pretty involved process, but definitely worth it.
And here we've got you hugging a gentleman, our friend Mark, on our first morning in the playa.
Yeah, Mark was incredible. When we say first morning, we hadn't slept. We had just drove in this morning, and we got to meet Mark, who was the mayor. He was the mayor of Black Rock City.
Illumination Village.
Illumination Village, sorry. Just there's various villages in the city. So this was the village we were in. And so Mark was the mayor of that. And yeah, and it was amazing. Got to meet Mark. I gave him a hug. Hugs are pretty big in Burning Man, and I was surprised he was topless. So that was my first kind of surprise to follow in Burning Man. But I believe he's wearing a top in that picture.
He is. So in the next
That's
one,
the radio edit picture.
In the next one, we have me in a tutu, and we have you on a red tricycle.
Did we name our tricycle? I'm sure we had a name for it.
We did, but I'm not sure. What purpose does it serve in the multiverse?
Our tricycle was pretty incredible. I think we've got another picture of me on the tricycle with here's a picture of myself and our friend's daughter on the tricycle, and we're really complementing our strengths. My strengths were my leg muscles were a little bit stronger than her muscles, but her eyes worked better than mine. So we thought, right, that's a good exchange, and she really wanted to come and guide. So this is her guiding me as we pedal through Black Rock City.
Useful. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. We've got this one where you were a barman talking to our friend Mr. Tom dressed as a king. The next one, actually, this is a good one. This is you fondling a giant bee.
Fondling a giant, well, I wasn't really, not in a sort of sexual way. I was actually, getting to feel this being, which is incredible because as someone who's blind, if I can't feel something, it just doesn't exist for me. And so, yeah, this was me actually getting to know what a bee kind of feels like. I've never really touched a real life bee. It can, I guess, be painful. But yeah, so that was incredible for me.
And here you are sticking your tongue out. Here you are sitting on a giant pair of lips. Nothing to see here. And
pretty normal.
Totally normal. And this is Addy exploring an art piece called No Place Like Home. No Place Like Home by Trey Watkins, Mara Greenberg, Alan Becker, Karen Cusalito, Andrew Howell, Mina Sandhu, and Frogma. And it's a recreation of the Gale House from The Wizard of Oz.
And this was incredible. I've got light dark perception. I can see light and dark, and I seen this big flash of light, and I said, Chris, what's that? He's like, oh, that's just a hurricane made out of fire. I'm like, oh, right. So we went up to it, and next to it was this house. So I guess the hurricane was from Oz. And the incredible thing was, as I said, I feel everything, and there was just so much detail. I could touch all the surfaces, and then I started rifling through the drawers, and it was just incredible. The detail, and this is where the detail really impressed me. You know, I found stuff in the drawers. I found a letter, and I'm like, Chris, what is this letter? And it was a letter written from one of the witches to the other witch. It was fascinating, but the level of detail and the fact that I could touch all the detail was incredible.
And we met the artists, which was awesome. And just going to whiz ahead, we're going to go into speed up a little bit. This is Addy lying back in the tent with a beautiful teardrop on his face, and kind of illustrates the Burning Man value of self-expression. So moving ahead and flashing forward, that was all 2019. Now March 2020, Burning Man was cancelled, and one of the first artists to announce their intention to build in the Metaverse was Arthur Mamouani, French architect, who in 2020 built Burning Man's temple. And his project for 2020, before it got cancelled, was Catharsis, as you can see. And it's a wooden amphitheatre inspired by a geometrical figure, a circle of circles called the Poincaré disc. And as he explained to Dezeen magazine, the space in between the circles would rise to the sky and offer a labyrinth in galleries for people to place art of any size, allowing for more than just one type of performance, encouraging participation and creativity regardless of backgrounds. Catharsis is the purgation of emotions experienced through art, or any extreme change in emotion that results in renewal and restoration, something needed during lockdown more than ever. So we knew that this digital art would be special, and we wanted to experience it together. Addy plays exquisitely, guitar and sings, and our dream was to be able to walk around in virtual reality, experiencing in our own way the shifting qualities of light and shadow created by Unity engineers, to sense the presence of other avatars in a moment of our own choosing, to sit down and sing, for Addy to get his guitar out in the real world and sing silly and soulful songs via the metaverse to other people. So this lit the fuse for blind burners, and our mission. Burning Man 2020's theme had already been the metaverse. To foster diversity, they created 8 partners, and with so much ambition and scarce resources, our challenge of connecting with everyone to help their world be accessible was a great challenge. So we focused on 2 worlds, VRC VR and the Sparkleverse, the world created by Co-Reality Collective. Here's a flyer for the zone. Now in April 2020, early lockdown, party philosopher Ed Cook, Madonna Zoom party pioneer Iona McNeil, lecturer and psychonaut Carl H. Smith, and others had responded to lockdown by creating a series of incredible overproduced parties. The first party, The Zone, comprised 16 experiences accessed via Zoom links in a spreadsheet, and over time the themes developed and the spreadsheet evolved into beautiful clickable maps. This is our journey last July to the centre of the earth. Blind Burners contributed this theme, which means a lot to us through the idea of an inner journey as much as recollection of Saturday morning B-movies. What we loved about Co-Reality Collective as kindred spirits was the emphasis on connection and creativity, often Blue Peter, homemade style, but with incredibly inventive use of the medium, of backgrounds and of snap filters. So we loved Co-Reality Collective. And here we're looking at a virtual Blackrock City, BRCVR. This presented as our biggest opportunity and challenge. So how feasible is it really to experience VR through a head-mounted display with less than 5% vision? Over to Eddie.
Thanks, Chris. It was the first time I put on a VR headset, because medium for me always seemed very visual. It was pretty cool. Actually, I had the sound. Firstly, was a big deal for me. Just the sound was very reminiscent of Blackrock City when I was physically there. That was great. As I turned my head, I could hear the sound changing. So there was some spatial audio going on, which was brilliant. I can see light and dark, so I could see the colors changing. I also found it pretty amazing because I found it hard to walk in a straight line, and just because I can't see, it's very difficult. And in VR, I realized once I'm pointing in the right direction, I just press the forward button and I start moving in a straight line. So things like that were pretty incredible. So there was a lot of potential. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges. It's a medium that's been designed primarily visually so far. That's what the focus has been on. But so hopeful, because the physical world is amazing, but there's still quite a lot of limitations for people with disabilities. And in this virtual world, those limitations can be overcome. I could be in a physical conference and not be able to know who's in the room, or not able to go up to a person I want to talk to because I can't find them. But in a virtual environment, I could be informed of who's in the room by my screen reader, and just by pressing a button, I could be taken up to that person. So the limitations of the physical world can be overcome in the digital world, and that's only possible if people are aware of the needs of people with disabilities.
Amazing. And a big point for us at Blind Burners is the fact that as much as we do all the fun stuff, we know that a lot of virtual reality is going to back just how we live our lives. So it's absolutely essential that VR course correct and become inclusive. Initially, the issue with platforms like AltSpace, which is owned by Microsoft, is that the sign-up process is totally inaccessible. We want to give kudos to the team at AltSpace for engaging with us, along with the team at BRCVR. They made time to talk with us. They explained their priorities in terms of dealing with hackers and also developing solutions for the deaf community, which is fantastic. And we really hope we can continue to engage with them to fix the sign-up process, which currently means that Addy and I have to kind of humanly hack that process. We did go back into Blackrock City. So right now, we don't know, I don't think, it's not clear whether physical Burning Man is happening this year at Blackrock City. We do know that the Metaverse version is going to happen, again, across several worlds. And earlier this week, a dust storm descended, a digital dust storm on BRCVR to clear the playa, to leave no trace, so we can begin building again digitally. Addy and I went there to say goodbye. So this is a avatar that looks vaguely like me. It's actually Addy, because we had to hack it, and Addy had to get in my head-mounted display to make it to work. And this looks like Addy, but it's actually me. So when we took the head-mounted displays off, we were kind of a little bit discombobulated and confused, kind of like a kind of strange invasion of the body snatchers kind of thing might have happened. Maybe he was me and I was him. But anyway, I am now Chris.
And I am now Addy.
And this is us at the beginning of our adventure into the metaverse. And thank you. So here are our contact details. If you'd like to join our community, the Facebook group is a very warm, positive space. We plan to use Twitter to playfully harass or galvanize tech platforms to help them to understand the potential of accessible virtual reality. And you can get us by email as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great round of applause, virtual round of applause, which you'll have to imagine coming from everyone who's who's virtually attending. Really insightful talk there. Great stuff. I've got a few questions. We've got a couple of minutes. Are you all right to take a few questions?
Yeah, totally. And thank you for letting us run. Thank you.
We're fine. We're all good. Our next speaker is standing by, but we've got 4 or 5 minutes. So let's do that. I've got a couple of my own, but folk, if you're watching this and you have some questions for Chris and Addy, do pop them in the Q&A box and I'll grab them from there. I can see that we've got one from an attendee, but I just wanted to dive in there and pick on a couple of things that you said there, which I thought were fascinating. For a start, when I saw your Massive Attack image there, Chris, I've seen Massive Attack loads of times. I love them, and of course they're a Bristol-based band as well, which is I'm based in that part of the world. I recognized that as soon as you put it up there. I thought, well, that was a great display that they had. So that was
beautiful.
Great. I think something that you pointed out there, which Addy, which you said, which I thought sort of inspires something there, which was about how VR in like a virtual conference can help because of the kind of the description of what's happening, the kind of the audio assistance there makes a VR conference more accessible than a real conference in many respects. And it just occurred to me that the possibilities for augmented reality there, AR, at live conferences is immense, right? There should be, at physical conferences, that kind of support for blind and partially sighted attendees.
Absolutely, yeah. And the potential is there, yeah. And it's amazing once it's realized.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought that was great. I've got a couple more questions there, but I'm going to grab the one from the submission box there from Mary Muthu, who's dropped a line here saying that as a game developer, so as someone from the games development industry, it mentions how hard it is for devs to create games that can be played by both sighted and non-sighted people. So do you have any suggestions there as well? You mentioned a few things like sort of descriptions and things. What advice should our viewers take away from them who are making games perhaps, and about how they can make it more accessible for everybody?
That's beautiful. Thank you for that question, Marimutu. So my advice, I guess, as a sighted person coming into this and with something of a background in games would be, first of all, to engage with a wide range of people with disabilities, because everyone's different and everyone has different preferences. In our group, like at the core, Addy is blind, Ebony is partially sighted, and the way that we take in information, the way we think is different in so many ways. And that's true to gamers. But I'd absolutely recommend people tuning into the blogs of people like Steve Saylor and inviting them into your development meetings at prototyping phase. The thing with design, accessible design, is it doesn't really take any more effort whatsoever if you do it at the beginning of a process, none. But I guarantee you that you will end up with a better designed product and a really interesting creative, as constraints often drive creativity. And if you think of the constraints that come from not being able to see, I'd absolutely recommend, just for the creativity. And, for blind burners, accessibility is like the bottom running of a ladder, but we're all about performance and embracing the fact that what we bring wherever we are is we augment anything we take part in, whether it's a game, a performance, a music, a film. By people engaging at the level that we engage, their designs are going to be absolutely transformed. So I'd really recommend monthly bringing disabled gamers in to test things and to give their perspective, and absolutely have them in the sign-up process. Because our vision is to work with people, to figure out the technology that doesn't quite exist yet. There's some really exciting things, but to work with co-creators to build games and other experiences that are built with blind and partially sighted and deaf people considered from the outset, so that we all have a shared experience of wonder. When we think of those signal art experiences, whether it's a concert or a video game, where we feel transcendence and emotion and change, we want that to, there's something extra happens when you realize that you're having that in a room with people who are different, whether they're blind or deaf or other disabled. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there by saying to get people involved in the development process early on. It can't be an afterthought, can it? That leads to the best experience. We are out of time there. So what I'll just say to everyone is that if you want to catch up with Addy and Chris, on screen right now are the Facebook, Twitter, and email addresses that will be of value to you. I suspect that it's possible also to send messages through the Meet to Match platform here or the Discord platform. And so, again, another round of applause from everyone here. Yeah, hopefully we'll catch up with you another time.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us.